Welcome. This is the Ag Engineering Podcast, where we talk tools, tips, and techniques to improve the sustainability of your farm. I am your host, Andy Chamberlain from the University of Vermont Extension, and this podcast is supported by Northeast SARE, providing grants and education to advance innovation in sustainable agriculture. We're trying to improve the industry by chatting with farmers and getting their input on tools, tips, or techniques that have changed the way they farm for good. Many of these practices affect multiple areas of the farm. Whether it be environmentally, emotionally, physically, or financially, we share the knowledge to promote sustainable agriculture, lifestyle, and business. Thanks for having a listen. Now, let's get started. Today's episode comes to you from Middlesex, Vermont, where we talk with Patrick Sullivan of Ananda Gardens. He and his wife have been farming the last 5 years, and they're growing 1.5 acres with about a quarter under high tunnels. They're in Zone 4, just outside of Montpelier, Vermont, and their markets are 150-member CSA. Last year, they were over 50% restaurants and wholesale markets, but that pivoted this year and is only about 25% of their business. This year, their gross sales are looking to hit just about $175,000. Patrick, welcome to the show. So if you could describe your farm in one sentence, what would you say?
Vermont's Wellness Farm. That's our motto, producing healthy food and living soil for our community. And we also, we also say that we produce, the same food that we grow to feed our kids and our family. We produce that for our community. So that's a huge motivator to to produce really healthy food, something that we feel comfortable feeding to our family. That same quality goes out to our community, to our customers.
That's a good motto to have for sure. So today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what sustainable farming means to you, because you farm full time and you plan to keep doing this for a long time. So what does sustainable farming mean to you, and what are you doing to keep it viable?
Sure. I love this question, Andy. I think it's something we need to be thinking about and talking about. I've come up with 3 little subpoints or areas that I think fall in for me that are the most important to make a farm sustainable. And I think about our number one goal is to stay in business. So we need to stay in business in order to farm for the long haul. That's really important, but I do think there's a lot of information about that. It's no easy task, but there's a lot of places to get help with business planning. I think that's a really important part of it. So what I wanted to share more, my take of it is, as you're building up the farm, I think it's really important to make good investments and make investments in things that you're not going to have to redo. I heard on a podcast recently with the Arnolds in New York, they said it just so well, that to invest in things, that are really well built, so that you don't have to be scrambling to fix failing infrastructure. Where we're really making money is tending plants and growing plants. So that's what we want to be doing. So years before I'd heard that, I had, I guess, adopted a similar philosophy. A couple examples of what we're doing on our farm are the greenhouses that we put up. We could put up much bigger greenhouses for the price of the greenhouses that we've chosen to go with, but we put up Harnois greenhouses, so they're quite expensive initial investment, and it's been a stretch for us to do that, but I'm just really grateful that we have gone that route. It's one less thing to worry about. Every big storm, greenhouses go down in the state, and the Harnois greenhouses are just engineered to withstand a much heavier snow load. You don't need to plow them in the winter. If you need to roll up the sides in the spring, you've got to clear the snow away. But it's allowed us to go away a couple winters to visit my wife's family and our friends in El Salvador, and to just not have to lay awake at night in a big storm and hope that, um, of course, the plastic could get ripped off. But I just have complete confidence that these massive steel structures aren't going down too easily. So I think that's something to really think about. They're harder to put up. They're more expensive initial cost, but I think it's a really wise investment. I think the way that we have done our wash station and our barn as well, thinking of continuing to build it out, but at the same time doing things in a way that we can work with for a while rather than doing something that's going to work for a year and then having to redo it. And as you get started, I think you need to do that in certain cases, but the more you can, hold off with what you have until you can get the capital together to make really good investments that you're not going to have to be fixing down the line, is huge towards long-term sustainability. And then the second part that I wanted to touch on is our own health, the health of the people that work here, and our own health running the farm. Maybe, it's a huge issue. Farmers, the stress load that farmers have, the risk that farmers have, and really concentrating on keeping ourselves healthy. So it's been a grind the first 5 years of our farm. We've had to work a lot, but there are certain things that we can do to take care of ourselves that will make a long difference, or that will make a huge difference in being able to farm for the long term. So we really prioritize eating well. We eat, all together as a family. Uh, Occasionally, I'll grab something on the run or miss lunch, but generally, we eat together 3 times a day, and that's one of the nicest things of farming and working from home, working around your family, is that we can all get together and make a beautiful lunch. So we'll take a pretty good lunch break and try and eat as not try, we really do eat as healthy as we can. So we consume a huge amount of vegetables, a huge amount of greens, a huge amount of nuts and seeds. We buy in fruit, and we feel like it's just the best investment that we can make in in our lives in some sense to keep ourselves healthy and well. So that's really what got me into farming in the first place, is the quality of life um, improvement from eating good foods and eating healthy foods. So that's a real kind of key part of our lifestyle and a real key part of one of the ways that I want to set myself up and also promote in our community to farm for the long haul. And the last thing that I thought of that I think is really important are the relationships that we form. So relationships with, our immediate farm team, our immediate family, and our community. Making sure to treat others well, um, to always honor the things that we say, to go out of the way to, help and support people in our community. I really think that these investments in our community and these investments in making sure that we're doing what we can for our neighbors and our community are really important in our long-term strategy to be here, because it's really a group effort. We rely on our neighbors a lot for different things. They pull our truck out of the mud when we get stuck, are there for us in certain situations. So we really want to do the same for them. And I think that's an important part of what makes our state special. what makes this part of the world really unique in that, you're really there for your neighbor because you know that in some moment your truck is the one that's going to be stuck in the snow or whatever it is, so there's just a real sense of community that's special here, and um, we consciously, yeah, do what we can to continue that.
Those are really good examples and great things to highlight. Like you said, like getting your truck stuck. Some days it's gonna be you, some days it's gonna be your neighbor, but either way, it's good to help out. Do you have a go-to meal, or what's your favorite food to eat that's
Oh,
healthy?
just for lunch today, we had rice, lentils cooked up with vegetables, over a huge bed of spinach with a bunch of microgreens on top. That's something really easy to cook up. My wife had started them. I just served them, and all together, I don't know, we spent 10 or 15 minutes putting that together, and it's delicious. You can add some spices. I had some cayenne pepper, so that I think that's a pretty standard, quick meal for us. Uh, we do a lot of oats for breakfast, or pancakes, like vegan pancakes that are just oats and buckwheat mixed with some nut butter and nut milk, and super delicious with some maple syrup, and that will keep you going for a long time. So those are a couple huge salads, all not always for breakfast, but huge salads every day for lunch and dinner. Um, 6 servings of greens a day will really help protect your heart from heart attack. My wife studies nutrition and plant-based nutrition. She just completed a course through Cornell, a really incredible course through Cornell, and one of the things that we learned was 6 servings of greens a day will help you be somewhat heart attack proof. So eating, I always knew greens are really important for heart health, but never understood why. But they're just, it's something we produce a lot and share to our community. So it's really neat for us to learn um, just more and more why we're doing that and how it's helpful, and communicating that, yeah, with each other, within our family, to our kids, and also to our neighbors and community.
That's awesome and a great example. It really sounds like power food for sure. It keeps you going well.
Yeah, definitely power food. We also, do a lot of snacking of dark chocolate and nuts and fruit throughout the day. So when I'm running inside to print an invoice or before going and doing a delivery or whatever, I'll often grab a cup of green tea, some dark chocolate, and that'll, give me a little boost, get me through the rest of the day.
Do you do any physical stretches or exercises, or really just focus on what you eat for your health?
During the growing season, it is pretty much just focusing on what we're eating because we're doing so much activity outside, cover so much ground each day walking, uh, and bending down all the time through harvest. So I'm conscious about the way I'm bending down, but I really don't have energy or time during the growing season much to stretch or exercise off of the farm. Now we're doing this interview in the beginning of December, and I just took my first jog in about 8 months. So during the winter, I love to cross country ski. If there's no snow, jog, jump rope, try and stay in shape. Uh, because yeah, it's a really important part of not losing a step during the winter. I think feeling good, continuing to do some exercise really just has an effect on your, not only your physical but your emotional state. So try and do, yeah, off the farm exercise during the winter, or even build it into my day. Like do a couple pull-ups every time I go down into the basement to check on our little seedlings, things like that. But during the bulk of the season, honestly, I'm just so tired by the end of the day that I'm not I do not have the energy to do more physical activity on top of what we're already doing on the farm.
Don't blame you there at all. How have your practices and decisions been influenced by podcasts or other farmers? You mentioned an example already of that.
Yeah, well, podcasts are something I think that are really accessible. I listen to podcasts if I'm working alone on the farm. I try to not listen to too many podcasts when other people are here helping, so I can be more accessible. But I really cherish the days when I'm working alone on the farm because I'll have a set of headphones on and be listening to podcasts all day when I'm planting or harvesting or doing, all the different tasks outside. So I get a lot of information from those. I like this podcast. I like the Thriving Farmer podcast, um, No Till podcast, the Regenerative Ag podcast. There used to be a great podcast called Farmer to Farmer podcast. It's no longer going on, but there's a huge archive of, gleaned so much information from those. So I also love to read, but during the day, just the nature of most of my day, I'm not able to sit down and read. So podcasts are a wonderful way to kind of continue learning. Uh, Definitely reading at night and during the winter. Any books I really learn by reading. We all have different ways that we learn, but one of the kind of ways that I learn best is through reading. So I'll plow through all the farming books I can get my hands on in the winter, and even through the farming season. I try and read every single day for a half hour or so before I go to bed. So I just a lot of books have really changed the way I do things or even changed my life. So I really love reading. Um, some of the better books I've read recently are the No-Till Intensive. I believe it's No-Till Intensive Growing by Brian O'Hara. I could be getting that title wrong. Um, the No-Till Revolution by Andrew Mefford. I read that last winter. All the books by the Lean Farmer I love. Recently, I read a really good book about soil called "For the Love of the Soil" by Nicole Masters, a New Zealand soil scientist. That was just a great book explaining more in depth the soil food web. The Call of the Reed Warbler, which talked a lot about regenerative ag in Australia, which is just fascinating, talking about the Australian continent. Um, so yeah, I love, our work as farmers is so focused sometimes on our piece of land that reading is a really wonderful way to keep traveling in a sense, learning about what other people are doing and learning about different ways that we can think about the world around us. So I glean a lot from reading. I watch some YouTube videos as well. I've gotten good information um, from different YouTube channels. There's a yeah there I like following Ridgedale Permaculture in Sweden. What's another one? There's a guy called Dutch Farmer Moreno in France who's got a really beautiful farm underneath this canopy of old fruit trees. Um, a fellow named Josh Satin who does no-till growing. So there's so many resources out there. I don't watch YouTube videos all the time, but yeah, if I get 15 minutes here or there, I love it's just seeing what other people are doing on their farms.
You just listed so many good resources. If I haven't listened to, watched, or read them, I have definitely heard of most of those suggestions. So definitely recommended on the check out list. I'd also share Diego Footer's recently put out a podcast called In Search of Soil, which has been phenomenal in going into the deep details of soil science. So that one's been quite interesting as well. And another one he's done was The Growing Debate, which goes into a little bit more of the large scale food system, which has been um, kind of eye opening as well, just to learn about the bigger picture of ag. So,
Yeah, I think it's really important that even though, we're really razor focused on small family farms, the small agricultural, yeah, just small farm scale. It's important to at least know what's going on in medium sized and large scale farms. The technology that they're using is pretty mind blowing, and that's really, it's within our world. It's the profession where we're working. So I think it's important to know what other folks are doing, even though, we might have different values or different scales. I'd like to see why they're doing what they're doing and know that that exists. And, maybe we can adopt some of those technologies, or maybe it'll, um, give us more inspiration to continue doing what we're doing, in the ways that we're doing it.
you've taken in a ton of content and you've implemented a whole lot of what you've learned about, I can tell. And you also mentioned you're a listener of this podcast, so thanks for checking it out and listening to what we've been sharing. Are there any other ideas that you would benefit to know more about, specifically for this podcast? And you kind of know the style of the content we do. Are there things that you'd love to hear other farmers share about?
Well, I would say that I'd love for Vermont farmers to be more linked. There's the veg and berry listserv, I think, is great. But more forums where we could share what we're doing when we're doing it. I used to have an Instagram feed. I've gotten off of it just because it can be a time suck. But the one thing I really liked about that was I could see, for example, like when other farms around here were harvesting garlic or doing certain tasks. I think there's a lot of benefit to that, and I wish there were another avenue where we could share a lot more than we're currently sharing. Um, I'd love to, yeah, I'd love to learn more about how other people are thinking of kind of sustainability of their farm in the long term, both through their own health, their farm's health, and um, the big kind of question of we're all, I mean, the folks running farms, most are self-employed. So how we're looking at, our long-term financial stability, what are people doing out there? Um, I would love to learn more about that for sure.
Do noted, and all great topics. So definitely on the radar for trying to get more people to answer those questions because they help everybody across the board. What are you excited about in your next year of farming?
This next year, I am excited about watching my family grow on the farm. We have a 1 year old and a 6 year old, and I'm really most excited about seeing them kind of grow up in this environment. I'm really excited about trying a few new things. I'd like to, because as our farm has shifted more towards CSA, I'm excited to try some more crop diversity. We grow a large diversity of crops, but I think there's some that are going to be neat to add, for our own things that we want to eat as a family, and also try and offer them to our CSA members. Like sweet potato, we want to try sweet potatoes. We want to try growing some mushrooms. And we've had it on our mind for a while, um, to expand into berry and fruit crops. So over the next year, just plan, continuing to plan that. And we've got a lot of perennial plants planted around our house for our family, but really kind of making a more concrete plan of how we can grow those on a larger scale, a few crops on a larger scale to offer to our CSA, because I think that there's a big demand for local fruit. It's fruit is organic fruit so expensive, so much of it is coming from so far away. Some of the crops are really challenging in this environment, but I'm really excited about selecting varieties that'll do well here, and just growing into that part of our business more.
Sure, sounds like fun. What did you envision your farm would look like when you first got started?
I envisioned that our farm would be about an acre, and I also envisioned that our farm would have two main enterprises: the market garden and then a tree fruit nursery. We've really, it hasn't panned out exactly that way yet. When we started looking for properties, we were originally looking for a house with a much more modest piece of land to just concentrate on enough for our 1 acre garden. But we found the current piece of land we have now, and it was just so fantastic. We felt it was such an opportunity that we jumped on it. So we now have a farm that's a bigger scale than we really imagined from the beginning. Our farm is about 20 acres. Not 12 acres of it is a flat field. The rest is woods. So we're still not growing on all of that field, but that has definitely changed from what we originally set out to do. I did not necessarily, manage. I didn't envision managing a 12-acre field. I really envisioned managing a much smaller area. And then the tree fruit nursery, for different reasons, we just haven't pursued that. Until this year, one main thing until this year, we haven't had a really good deer fence. And every year, winter, when winter sets in, we would have set up some kind of temporary fencing situation, and the deer always get in and eat the tips off of the grafted trees. So that, and we haven't found a really good market for them. So we've just kind of more stuck with what's working. I'm not putting it out of the picture. I continue to graft some small amount of fruit trees every year and kind of keep my hand in it, but it just didn't work out that was a really good market opportunity for us. There are a couple nurseries that sell locally, and I'm really good friends with both the nurseries, and just there's not a huge market locally for grafted fruit trees. If you're getting grafted fruit trees around here, you're probably getting them from East Hill Tree Farm or Elmore Roots or St. Lawrence Nursery, but there's just not, I don't think there's as huge of an opportunity right now for more small scale nurseries as there is for really healthy produce, because everyone is eating there's a potential that everybody is eating healthy produce every single day. Whereas if you're planting fruit trees around your house, you might be planting a couple dozen, but it's not something that you're going to be buying again and again. So yeah, it's interesting how that's worked out. I think you do the best job that you can planning, and then roll with the opportunities that you have, the challenges you're presented, and you've got to be pretty attuned. Yeah, the most important thing is being in tune with the market opportunities. And oftentimes when you start, you don't know exactly what they are, so you kind of have to jump at what is working well and go with that. And um, something that's not working as well can become a hobby, or maybe you just stop doing that altogether. So that's how it's worked for us.
Yeah, a little bit of a shift and pivot and agility as markets kind of come to you and you figure out what works for you and your family. Now that you're 4 or 5 years in, but so looking forward now, what do you think the next 10-year outlook looks like for your farm?
The next 10 years, I would hope that our market garden is really thriving. I would hope that we have a pick your own berry patch for our CSA members and community, raspberries and blueberries. We have a 2-acre field that's been cover crop now for 2 years, going on 3 years. So we want to transition that to a small pick your own berry operation. I would love for some of the fruit trees that we've planted to start, bearing fruit, and maybe some of the plantings that we'll be making in the next year really start growing and beginning to produce some fruit as well. On top of that, I would love for more of a work-life balance with my family. Getting all the infrastructure set up has been a stretch because we've been working producing on our farm as well as building, so it's been kind of a double shift. And in the next 10 years, I expect and hope that things settle down somewhat and we can just enjoy more time all together doing different things. Um, I would I would expect and hope that over the next 10 years, continue learning, continue sharing with other farmers, developing practices that really make sense on this scale. I'm sure some of the things we're doing now, we probably won't be then. And some things that aren't even on my radar, hopefully, we'll be implementing. And yeah, I guess the biggest thing for me too is over the next 10 years, continuing to develop a connection with this piece of land, continuing to develop a certain intuition with this piece of land too, and just be more in tune with what's going on. I mean, every year we've been here, it's been really exciting for me to learn more about the tree species all around our farm or the types of birds there are. I think that's one of the nicest things about this scale of farming, of just spending so much time outside, that I would really hope that will continue, expect and hope that will continue over the next 10 years and probably get me places, in the way I perceive the world that I couldn't quite imagine right now. So those would be my hopes for the next 10 years.
It sounds achievable and great goals to to have in mind.
I should definitely mention too, just part of our well-being, with the context we're living in is financial, as most farms are, and I'd really hope over the next 10 years we can just build a solid base, to have be in a comfortable financial position for our family, and be able to share with our community and really provide our community with healthy food and with hope and inspiration going forward of ways to interact with our world, as we're living in a time with a pretty uncertain future, and the things could go in a lot of directions, and we really hope to continue to provide a good alternative or a good way for other people to learn how to interact with the natural world. So that's one thing I didn't mention was I'm kind of looking for or interested in also ways to share what we're doing here with the wider world, and be part of transitioning to a more just society and a more just relationship with the natural world. And I hope we can be a piece of that puzzle and share that with other people.
Well, you're definitely leading by example, and just by being on this podcast, you're sharing it all over the U.S. So, if people want to find and follow along with you or reach out with questions, how can they do that?
Through our website, anandagardens.com. Our emails are on there, and we're not big social media. We're not really tapped into social media, so I think following us on our website or email, or giving us a call is the best way to reach out.
Thanks, Patrick, for coming on the show and sharing some stories from your farm and how you're managing your farm, your family, and taking life and turning it into a sustainable business. So, thanks for sharing, and thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andy. I appreciate giving me the chance to share.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you learned something today or plan to make a change on your farm, let me know. I'd love to receive any feedback you have. Just click the link in the description to submit the form. It will help the future of this podcast to be a resource that is helpful for you. And while you're at it, I hope you go ahead and subscribe, share this with a friend, or leave a comment. And if you want more information, check out the show notes on our website at agengpodcast.com. That's agengpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great day.
The proceeding has been a production of University of Vermont Extension. For more information on Extension, log on to www.uvm.edu/extension.